So we'll be discussing ideas for education essays. And the very first essay in front of you is, do the advantages outweigh the disadvantages? And this essay is on unpaid internships. In some countries, schools arrange work for students without any payment so that students get experience. Do the advantages of this trend outweigh the disadvantages? So can any one of you tell me advantages, disadvantages essay? Is it an opinion essay or a discuss essay or a problem solution essay? Come on.
I think it's opinion essay.
Yes, it is an opinion essay. It is an opinion essay because see the opinion, they're asking you the opinion. They've given you a fact, something which is happening, and they're asking you for your opinion. Okay. So this is on unpaid internships when the schools arrange work without any payment. Okay. And this is just for getting them experience. You must be aware that even in engineering colleges and other, you have 2 months training in 1 year, 1 semester, and a 6 months training in 1 semester. The whole semester is training. So this is basically unpaid internships. Do the advantages outweigh the disadvantages? So what are the advantages of unpaid internships to students? First advantage is that students gain valuable hands-on work experience, which can help them in deciding the career of their choice. So it's hands-on work experience, and they get uh, they get to decide which career they would like to go in the future. So an internship can also give them the possibility of securing a job upon graduation or shortly thereafter. So during the internship, if they have worked well, that company will definitely employ them later on when they complete their education. Okay, this is the other advantage. Third advantage is the students can build professional networks. They meet different people, they develop a network. And the fourth advantage is students also learn soft skills like communication and time management during these internships. So these are the 4 points these are the advantages of unpaid internships to the students. Now there are advantages to the employers also. They get services at no cost. Employers can convert interns to full-time employees seamlessly, which reduces any training related costs. And what are the advantages to educational institutes? The student interns tend to bring real world experience back to the classroom, which helps keep courses relevant and the curriculum up to date with the current trends. This results in richer learning experience for everyone. So what are the disadvantages of unpaid internships? Can anyone tell me the disadvantages? So first is the interns, and interns, they can be exploited. They may be made to work long hours, which may affect the current employees. The current employees may suffer. Okay. Many students can't afford to take an internship if it doesn't pay anything, which can contribute to social inequality. And some companies offer unpaid internships just for PR reasons. And what is the meaning of PR?
Public relations.
Yes. And do not need interns. They make unpaid interns do small, irrelevant jobs like copying documents, making deliveries, or fetching coffee, which is a waste of their time. Unpaid interns decrease employment opportunities as some employers prefer to have unpaid interns permanently than hire full-time staff to cut their operational costs. So these are the benefits, these are the disadvantages of unpaid internships. So basically, advantages to students, to employers, to educational institutes, and disadvantages to the interns. So these are the points. And this essay is there both in the GT book and the academic book. So fewer and fewer people today write by hand using a pen, pencil, or brush. What are the reasons? Is this a positive or negative development? And in the modern age, it is unnecessary to teach children the skill of handwriting. To what extent do you agree or disagree? These are two essays. I think one is in the academic book, one is in the GT book. Any one of you who has been attending my classes regularly? Gurvinder?
Yes, ma'am.
So, are you sure we haven't done these essays?
I don't sure, ma'am.
You're not sure. Okay. So, what is the trend of writing by hand is going down. They have asked two things. First, they've asked the reasons why this is going down, and second, they've asked whether it is a positive or a negative development. And the other essay is in the form of an agree disagree format, which says that in the modern age, it is not necessary to teach children about the skill of handwriting, and you have to agree or disagree with this. So here we will, you can disagree and write about the advantages of learning handwriting, right? That is how you can handle that essay. So importance of the skill of handwriting, it is a key part of learning to communicate. Children are required to use it daily in school from kindergarten on. Children who struggle with the mechanics of handwriting may have trouble taking notes or tests or completing their schoolwork. Good handwriting can mean better grades. Studies show that the same mediocre paper is graded much higher if the handwriting is neat and much lower if the writing is not. Fourth, there's a direct link between writing skills and academic success. Studies show that elementary school children with good handwriting skills scored higher years later in reading and math than those with poor handwriting. And fifth point is that handwriting aids memory. For example, if a person writes a list or a note and then loses it, he is much more likely to remember what he wrote than if he just tried to memorize it. Handwriting forces our brain to engage with the information and thus helps one develop a stronger conceptual understanding of the written notes than typing. Now, all these points are for on the importance of the skill of handwriting. Okay. You need not remember all the points. You can just remember a couple of points and make the whole paragraph if you have to write the essay. So all these points, when you go through them, then surely in the exam, you will remember at least 2, 3 points, which will help you in framing your essay. Okay. Now, there in one essay, they've also asked why the handwriting skills have gone down. First is the decline in handwriting is mainly because business matters require speed and clarity. And speed and clarity is better with digital writing. Therefore, a technology-based solution is always better. Tablets, smartphones, and laptops have become increasingly popular. Typing on the keyboard has become the go-to method of writing for everything from work emails to the to-do lists. Okay. So all these are the reasons for the decline of handwriting skills. And the first points, they are the importance of the skill of handwriting. So any point which is not clear, I can elaborate it further. Do let me know.
Clear, ma'am.
Clear, ma'am.
Okay. This essay is on letter writing. With the increase in the use of mobile phones and computers, fewer people are writing letters. Some people think that the traditional skill of writing letters will disappear completely. To what extent do you agree or disagree? How important do you think is letter writing? So this is on the skill of letter writing, and the next essay is, with some people think that increasing communication usage of computers and mobile phones by young people has had a negative effect on their reading and writing skills. To what extent do you agree or disagree? So basically, these two essays are on, writing letters and writing skills on the whole, reading and writing skills on the whole. The first essay is agree, disagree, but then there is a direct question also. How important do you think is letter writing? Remember one thing, when you get such an essay, address the whole thing in the introduction. Do let the examiner know that you have understood what all has been asked and you are going to answer it all. If there is any point you will not touch, it will be negative for you. Okay. And so the points for why the traditional skill of letter writing will not disappear completely. So I have, they said that will the traditional skill of letter writing disappear completely? I have disagreed with the concession in my essay that while letter writing has come down, I disagree that this skill will disappear completely. Okay. So then you can, give the importance of, give the points for how it has come down, how the traditional skill of letter writing has come down. And then you can say why you think that this skill will not disappear completely. Okay. So why the traditional skill of letter writing will not disappear completely? First, letters are generally more formal and carefully composed than emails. Second, letters have sentimental value and are more suitable for occasions when they are likely to be kept and reread, perhaps several times, by the recipient. Third, letters provide a written record, so they are better in case of official complaints or legal matters. Moreover, the time is still very far when everyone will have a computer and internet connection. Till that time, letter writing can never disappear. So these points are why letter writing will not disappear completely. And then in one essay, they've also asked what is the importance of letter writing. So you should know. A handwritten message can be cherished for years. Can be cherished means can be, fondly, uh, you know, seen again and again, read again and again, cherishes to like enjoy something. Writing letters is much more deliberate and makes one write things that matter. Texts and emails are mostly reactionary. So when you take a pen and paper in your hand to actually write a letter, that letter you frame very well. When you just type. And then what happens is that you just send, but that is not, something which on which you have spent much time. So it will not have that much appeal for the reader. Okay. Um, shows the recipient that you care and creates a more lasting impression on them than any other form of communication. Fourth, nowadays, mails are mostly bills or junk. A handwritten letter is a wonderful surprise. So basically, handwritten letters are very, very, the importance, there is an importance of letter writing. You can give all these points. What is the importance? I have a friend, an American friend, Elaine. I met her in 2006. Since then, we've been friends. So it has been, I think, 16, almost 18 years. I receive her handwritten letter at least 4 or 5 times a year. Okay. And never has she forgotten to send me my birthday card in handwritten, this thing with the, her feelings and all. I have been to her house also, fortunately, where my son studied in the US for 3 years. She was 90 miles from there, which is pretty close. And they invited her over for Thanksgiving. So handwritten letters. And I have made a collage of all her handwritten letters. I have put it up on one wall of my room. She's always there, you know. So these, had it been just, text typed messages, they would not have had so much importance. So that is, they are more, they have a personal touch. They are, they show the recipient that you care and there is a more lasting impression. Now, there are also reasons asked why traditional letter writing is less frequent nowadays. First is because of modern technology, emails are much faster and cheaper than traditional letters. So emails are faster and cheaper. Second, business communications have become more informal than in the past. As a result, a less formal style of writing is more acceptable. Other forms of communication, such as text messaging, have reduced our need to write letters even more. So these are the points which go in why, which tell why letter writing has become less frequent. I hope the points are clear.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So now the second essay has asked you, what are the negative effects of communication technology on the reading and writing skills? So what are the ideas for this essay? So when there is,
Yes, ma'am.
yes, Sumalata?
Yes, yes, I have some idea.
Yes,
Yes.
let me know.
What regarding?
No, you said something, na? You have some idea regarding this essay?
Not this essay, writing letters or that one. Not particular essay.
Okay, so are the ideas and so any new idea you've got?
Mm. No, ma'am.
Okay, fine. So negative effects of communication technology on reading and writing skills. So first negative effect is that this communication technology encourages cyber slang, which means shortcuts, alternative words, or even symbols used to convey thoughts in an electronic document. The problem arises when this slang finds its way into the formal writing. For example, using abbreviations such as LOL, see you later, and because instead of regular words. So I hope you are all familiar with these lol, see you later, because.
Yes, ma'am.
That's. So the autocorrect feature fixes their mistakes so they don't even realize that they are writing, that they wrote something wrong. Okay. Third point is that due to technological development, reading habits are fast vanishing into thin air. Students now spend more hours browsing the net, playing games, checking social media, and texting their friends. Students are rarely interested in reading for pleasure and enjoyment, and instead they read only to pass the examination. The lack of reading culture among our youth nowadays has greatly affected the quality of graduates being produced. So basically, we are talking of the negative effects of communication technology on the reading and writing skills of people, and I hope you've understood all the points well.
Yes.
I had a student, there was I don't remember exactly which word, I think accommodation, and he was adamant, ma'am, it is single M. The spellings are single M. My computer has also not corrected me. And then I showed him his typed essay. There was a double M, A double C O double M O. Every time he would put a single M, the computer would automatically make it a double M. That's a autocorrect feature. And he never realized that he doesn't know the correct spellings. So this is what happens, right? So these are the 5 points on the negative effects of communication technology on the reading and writing skills. You can add any point. You may not remember all the points. You can expand on any 1 or 2 points from this, and that will help you frame your essay very nicely. Okay. So now we have reached the language essays. There are about quite a few language essays, and they are very, very important. I call them the hot topics. Okay. They are in the broad category of education essays. But if you do all the language essays in one go, the ideas are very similar and very overlapping. You will be able to attempt all these essays. So first, we have 3 essays here in front of us. The first essay says some people think it is better for children to begin to learn a foreign language at primary school than at secondary school. So basically, it is learning a foreign language at primary school than at secondary school. So some people say it is better to learn at primary school than at secondary school. Do you think the advantages of this trend, that learning a foreign language at primary school, are more than the disadvantages? So basically, in this essay, one major blunder which most students do, they start writing the benefits of learning a foreign language. Okay? They start writing the benefits of learning a foreign language. Okay, tell me one thing. If you learn a foreign language in your primary school, you know that language. Secondly, if you learn a foreign language at secondary school, you know that foreign language, right? So the benefits of foreign language will be the same, or will they be different?
They will be the same, ma'am.
Different.
They will be the same, not different. See, ultimately you know that foreign language. Supposing you learn French, you know French. You learned it before you were in sixth, or you learned it after sixth till your 10th. Basically, the advantages of learning a foreign language, like you are better, you get better chances of getting a job. The advantages will remain the same, right? So this essay is not on the advantages of learning a foreign language. This essay is on the comparison and contrast. Comparison between learning a foreign language at primary school or at secondary school. Okay. So you have to say which is better. So here they've asked you whether the advantages of learning a foreign language at primary school are more than the disadvantages. So basically you need to put both in your essay, advantages as well as disadvantages. Whatever you say are more, you will have one para more of those points. Okay. Now the second essay. In many countries, teaching a foreign language to primary school students is essential. Do you think the advantages of teaching a foreign language to young learners outweigh the disadvantages? Exactly the same points. Okay. Advantages of learning a foreign language to young learners outweigh the disadvantages. Here, it is not comparison of, learning a foreign language at primary or at secondary school. Here, it is the advantages of knowing a foreign language versus the disadvantages. Okay, of teaching a foreign language to young students. So this essay will have the points of the advantages of knowing a foreign language. Third essay is, some people think young people are suitable for learning foreign language. Others think adults are more suitable. Discuss both views and give your opinion. Now, 3 essays here we have in front of us. They are very similar in ideas. So let's read and see which points we can put in which essay. Why is it better for children to begin to learn a foreign language at primary school than at secondary school? So what are the advantages? In both the cases, at secondary school and at primary school, the advantages of learning the language will be same. So you have to compare learning at primary rather than at secondary school. So what are the advantages of teaching foreign language to primary school students? First point is, young minds are more receptive and they easily remember and retain knowledge during these years. Okay. In other words, just like students pick up their mother tongue with ease, they can also learn a foreign language easily if they start learning it at an early age. Okay. Secondly, the primary school students are not afraid of making mistakes. Whereas senior students often have a fear of making mistakes when they are speaking a new language. The fear is one of the biggest barriers for a person in their efforts to speak freely. Third, the early years are considered the best time to learn a foreign language because there is less burden of other subjects. Children can spend more time learning the language as they are learning fewer new things alongside. So basically, if in the first essay you say the advantages of learning a foreign language at primary school are more, then you will, have more points, these points for the advantages at primary school. And next we have the
Receptive means,
pardon?
ma'am.
Yes,
Receptive means, ma'am.
they are more receptive means they like to receive the information better, reception, receptive, get karna information ko. They are more receptive, easily remember and retain knowledge. Receptive means they are more keen on learning new things.
Okay, ma'am.
Then they are not afraid of making mistakes. Then there is less burden of other subjects. So these 3 points are easy points. Okay. So what are the
Yeah.
disadvantages of teaching a foreign language at primary school? What do you think are the disadvantages? First disadvantage is that, some people say that it is a waste to teach a foreign language. Students should better learn subjects like math and science. And then they say that at that age, children are also learning their mother tongue, and a foreign language will make it confusing. So it is better to learn, not learn a foreign language at primary school. So these are the points given by students, by those people who say that there are disadvantages of learning a foreign language at primary school. So I hope the points are clear.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I'll try to cover up all the language essays today. There are quite a few. All right. Why teaching a foreign language to primary school students is essential. Now, this is an essay on the advantages of learning a foreign language. So basically, the first point is that bilingualism and cognitive development go hand in hand. Bilingualism and cognitive development go hand in hand. Children who are bilingual or multilingual have a better IQ than those who are monolingual. Okay? Children who learn another language also become aware of another culture, and their outlook of life broadens. And third point is learning a foreign language can be a career asset. Children who have developed the ability to think in different languages and move from one to other become much better multitaskers. So these are the points, I think the points are easy and you can elaborate on them if you now know the ideas. My American friend whom I was talking about, her husband once, when we were there with them, we were having lunch together in their place. And he said that the biggest advantage you Indians have over us is, I said, what? I was like keen to know what he's going to say. And he said that you people are multilinguals. We are monolinguals. Okay. So being multilingual is definitely an asset. Bilingualism and cognitive development go hand in hand. So children, who are bilingual or multilingual have a better IQ. And these children also know about other cultures. They can be better placed in their career, and they do better they are better multitaskers. Okay, so these are the points. I've repeated all the points once. Do let me know if there's any point which you don't get so that I can explain it further. Then the other points are why some people say that adults are better at learning a foreign language than children. So the main point is that adults already know another language. They can, compare their own language with the new language, and they can learn better by comparing. Okay. And second point is they have a strong motive. If somebody says to you, most of you are planning to go to Canada. Now, supposing I tell you that there's a college in Montreal where you can get admission, and Montreal is in Quebec. That is a francophone area. Do you know what's a francophone area?
More people speaking French.
So areas where French is mostly spoken are called francophone areas, and the people who mostly speak French are called francophones. And supposing I tell you that if you go to that college, you will immediately, day one, when you land, you get a job. And that is a big motive. You'll be better placed. You'll not have to ask your parents for money every 6 months. Will it not be a good enough motive for you to learn that language faster and much better?
Yes, ma'am.
Small children do not have a motive. Okay. And then third point is most adult learners are educated and they are usually aware of what has worked best in their learning experience, and therefore they approach that learning with that, that thing which they have. They have mature and realistic expectations. They have more patience and longer attention span when learning a foreign language. I hope all these points are clear. You can, really expand on each and every point that I've written here and make a good essay with just 2 points if you remember any 2 points. All right, next essay is, there are 2 essays. People believe that not all school children have the natural ability to learn a new language. This means it is not right to force all school children to study a foreign language. Do you agree or disagree? The second essay is that in some countries, students are required to learn a foreign language, but in other countries, it is not necessary to do so. So what do you understand by the term required to learn and not necessary to learn? What do you understand by these 2 terms?
Like in some schools, it is mandatory to learn certain
Yes,
languages.
yes.
And
What is the situation in our country, India?
it's
Not
not
required.
Even in the government schools, English is taught right from class 1. Am I right or wrong?
Yes, ma'am.
So basically, and when I was a student back in the 60s, English was started in class 6. It was not taught from class 1. Okay? It started when we were in 6th. And now English is taught right from class 1, right? And in other countries, it is not essential. Countries where foreign language is not essential, like China, Korea, Japan, they don't teach English. They don't teach any foreign language. Now, what
Yes.
happens when our children go abroad for study and Chinese students also come there to study? Who is at an advantage of getting a job?
Indian students.
Obviously, because they can communicate better. They have better, so this is basically, these are the points here. Okay. So do you think it should be mandatory to teach a foreign language?
Mandatory.
Mandatory. When my daughter went to study, do her post-graduation, they call it the graduate course over there. So she told me once, she was talking to me on phone, Mama, there are 18 students in my class, 16 are Indians or Americans, 2 are Indians, and rest all are chapte. You know chapte? Flat noses, Chinese, and all people have. So these were the exact words she used. And she got a job as a TA, teaching assistantship job. And they get better advantages, Indian students, because they know a lot of their language, English, much better than people of other countries. Okay. So why children should be forced to study a foreign language? The first essay says that they should not be forced. You can disagree and say they should be forced. So why children should be forced to learn a foreign language?
For better opportunities, career progression, and all.
Yes, but definitely. There's a lot of competition and companies prefer multilingual candidates. So learning a foreign language at a young age may be difficult, but it would be very beneficial in the long run. Second, it would open education opportunities for these children in other countries, and getting an education overseas can be beneficial for children in many ways. Third point is multilingual children perform better than monolingual children in academics. So teaching a foreign language might improve the performance of these children in other subjects. And the fourth point is forcing might also create some interest, and these students will then put more effort into learning the language and overcome their mental limitations. So these are the points Why children should be forced. Now, why children should be forced? Because learning a foreign language has advantages. And here, all that you have to do is put the advantages. That is it. Okay. And then, you should also know the points why some people say because the essay can come in the discuss format. You will need the points for the other side. Why learning a foreign language should not be mandatory. First point is, if they are forced, they would become stressed. This would affect their other studies as well. Okay. Second point is, they would not concentrate. So it would be a waste of time and money. They would also slow down the learning speed of other children. So basically, forcing anybody to do anything causes stress, and that stress is not good. And the second point is, they would not concentrate, so it would be a waste of time and money. Even if they are forced, they would not concentrate. All the time and money would be wasted, what is spent on this. So these are the points for why children should not be forced to learn a foreign language. Okay. So now we have two more essays. These are based on, computer or machine translation versus human translation. Okay. So these points are also very important. These are also language essays. Can somebody do the reading here?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So Nalika, thank you so much for coming to my rescue. Okay.
That's fine, ma'am.
And by the way, Indrup is not well, so he'll not be taking the class today. He's quite unwell, and so there'll be. I'll take his class, cover up some class tomorrow, even if he doesn't, recover. And today there'll be no class at 6. So Sonalika, go ahead, and we'll complete all the language essays, even if it takes a little more time. All right, read.
Definitely. Because computers can translate all kind of languages quickly and accurately, so learning foreign languages is a waste of time. Do you agree or disagree?
Hmm.
Nowadays, it is possible to use computers and mobile phones for automatic language translation, and there is no need for human translators and interpreters. Do you agree or disagree with this statement?
All right, what is the difference in a translator and an interpreter?
Translator is the person who translates the language, and interpreter maybe. I mean, is it the same or
There's a
they differ?
slight difference. There is a difference. Let's see. Can you see the dictionary?
Yes, ma'am.
A person who translates from one language into another, especially as a profession. And the second word was interpreter. A person who interprets, especially one who translates speech orally or into sign language. Okay. So basically, a translator is one who does it as a profession orally as well as in the written form, but an interpreter is just oral, interpreting what the other person is saying into that language orally or using any sign language. So there is a mild difference. There's a difference in interpreter and translator. I hope these differences are clear.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am.
Go ahead. Read.
How human translations have an edge over machine translation. A human translator can ma'am, I know how to spell this.
This is gauge. Okay, I'll again open
Gauge.
the dictionary. You're learning words, which is,
Measure, ma'am.
yes.
Is it measure? Gauge means measure, right?
What?
Measure.
Yes, you can say that. This is
Gauge.
Gauge. Okay. So gauge here it is used as a noun. Okay. So as a verb in our word. So here it is as a verb. See the meaning of gauge as a verb. Okay. Estimate or determine the amount, level, or volume of. They can gauge something. Gauge. Okay. So it's not Gauge. Normally you would read it as gauge, but it is gauge. Okay. English is a funny language. Okay, so here Gauge is gauge. Okay, there's another thing, a couplet I remember. Okay, just listen to it and tell me what you understand from it. Okay, all of you, please be alert. It's interesting, I'm telling you. When two vowels go walking, the first one does the talking. What does it mean?
Could you repeat again?
Yes, I'll repeat again. When two vowels, पहले ये बताओ, do you know what are vowels?
AEIOU.
EOU.
A-E-I-O-U, 5, okay? So the couplet goes, when two vowels go walking, the first one does the talking. What does it mean?
Second one will be silent.
Yes. So there are words, okay? For example, B-O-A-T. What is the pronunciation?
Boat.
Hmm. Do we say boat? B-O-A-T? No, we say
A
boat.
is silent.
The second vowel is silent. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Here also G-A-U-G-E. Okay? Second vowel is U. Okay? Now remove the U, spell the letter. It is G-A-G-E. What will be the pronunciation? Gauge.
Gauge.
Yes. So that holds true here also. When two vowels go walking, the first one does the talking, right?
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
It's interesting, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so read, Sonalika, next point.
A human translator can gauge the underlying tone or emotion of the text, change the structure depending on the language, and take care of the subtitle.
Subtleties, subtle. What is the meaning of subtle?
Subtle changes, small
Subtle change, a
changes.
very small change, right? Subtleties of the
Subtleties
language. So
of
human
language.
translator can take care of the subtleties of the language. How many of you know Punjabi?
I don't know.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Simar, you know, Gurvinder, you know, right? Manjeet, Ravinder. So 4-5 students know Punjabi well. We say,
Yes, ma'am.
can you translate? If I say fitte mu, can you translate it into English?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am, but you can explain it in English what is meant, right? So human translator can, subtleties of language. He can understand the subtleties of language. Okay. So that is how, it goes. What is the difference in machine translation and human translation, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So,
For instance, the meaning. Okay.
subtleties of the language. For instance,
For instance, the meaning of one word can be changed in terms of the context it is used in. With machine translation, all this is not possible.
supposing I say, I am dead tired, and you want to translate it into Punjabi. So the machine will know dead means dead. Okay. The machine will translate it. The person is dead. He is no more tired. Okay. He's died, right? But basically dead tired here means very tired. So that is what the machine translator and human translator differ. Next.
There are idioms and proverbs in every language which cannot be translated by machine.
Yes.
Machine translation is mostly word to word, literal translation, and does not take into account grammatical differences, leading to error in syntax.
Yes. So basically, machine translation is word to word, literal translation. So that is, there is errors like. So next,
How machine translations have an edge over human translations. Machine translators are quick and most available for free. We can easily look for information about any topic, and if it is available in a different language, it can be quickly translated and understood. The Google Translate tool is a very good example for this use.
hmm,
Even though there might be some sentence structure errors, we can mostly use such translators for personal use or internal use in offices.
yes,
Many trans Machine translation can be done for almost any language which has been fed into the system. A human translator can only master 2 or 3 languages.
this is very important. So machine translation, no end. You can translate any one language to any other language. Okay, but how many languages can a human learn? Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
so that is one advantage. Next,
To learn a language well, we should also learn about the country as well as the cultures and lifestyles
yes,
of the people who speak this language. To what extent do you agree or disagree with this opinion?
yes. So to learn a language well, अच्छे से सीखना है. So here I have given importance to the word well. Okay. Now, if you have to learn a foreign language, you need not know the culture of that place. Okay, or the lifestyle of that place. But if you want to learn that language well, with all its subtleties, with all its, nuances, then you have to learn the culture of that place. So basically, I've given the importance to the word well, okay, and said that one needs to know the culture and language of those people if one wants to learn any language well. Okay, now read it.
Yes, to learn a language, one needs to know the culture and lifestyle of that country. Language is much more than just a means of communication. It is an art, science, a culture, and identity and a vision. It is a lifestyle and is like seeing the world through different eyes.
Yes.
There are dialects.
Uh, yes, yes,
There
yes.
are dialects.
Uh,
There are dialects and
nuances,
nuances
dialects,
and
nuances, idioms.
idioms of language, which can only be learned if we learn about the culture and lifestyle of the people. Then, then there are the nuances in a language, which means sub, subtle
Mean,
shades of meaning, which can also not be learnt without knowing the lifestyle of the people.
yes,
It is more enjoyable to learn a language if we learn about the culture and lifestyle. We are more motivated to learn another language.
yes. So basically, these are the 3 points. First point is, and language is much more than just a communication. It is an art. So it is needed to know the culture and lifestyle of those people to learn every detail about that language. Okay. Then second point is there are dialects, nuances, idioms. For example, in English, we say making a mountain out of a molehill. What does it mean? In Hindi, can anybody tell me the similar idiom in Hindi? In English, we say to make a mountain out of a molehill. Have you heard this idiom before?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
To make a mountain out of a molehill. Have you seen these ants where they go into, outside? There is a small heap of, dust around the place where they enter that hole or come out. They make small molehills over there. And if you make a mountain out of the molehill, in Hindi we say baat ka batangad banana. Have you heard baat ka batangad banana?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So it is the same thing to make a mountain out of a molehill. Okay, बात का पतंगड़ बनाना, छोटी सी बात का. So every language has these idioms in their own way. You cannot translate them. Okay. So this is, and when you need to learn the whole language, you need to know these idioms, phrases also, and that can only be possible if you know the culture and lifestyle of the people you live with them. Okay, next.
No, to learn a language, there is no need to learn the culture and lifestyle of the native speakers. A language can be learned by just learning its word, grammar, and sentence construction. It would be expensive and very time consumption consuming to learn the culture and lifestyle. It would require traveling to that country.
Yes. So these are the points in which we say that there is no need to learn the culture and lifestyle. So this is just that every language can be learned. Had it been, my father's maternal uncle knew 17 languages. My father is now 95. That person was much before that. And there was no technology. He knew 17 languages well. Well, imagine, without even going to those countries, knowing about the culture and lifestyle. That is, he knew the words, grammar. He could write, read, speak 17 languages, including Mandarin, Chinese. Okay. So, but exceptions are such persons are very few, where he's no more now. And okay, so these are the points. And second is expensive, very time consuming. Okay. Let's see how many languages are there. 2 here,
And
3, 4, 5, 6. Bus. So we'll finish these language essays today. I hope you are not bored
no, ma'am.
or tired.
No, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Because Indrup is not taking the class today, I'm extending my class a little bit. Okay. Chalo, read out, Sonalika.
An increasing number of people decide to learn a foreign language. What is the most difficult part when learning a foreign language? How can the learner overcome these difficulties?
So
It is difficult.
this is a direct question essay. Okay. This is a direct question. This is there in the GT book. Okay? Yes. Read out.
It is difficult to generalize as to which is the most difficult part. What may be easy for one may be difficult for the other. Chal- challenges faced while learning a new language. One of the challenges one of the challenges is sorry one of the challenges
One of the challenges in learning a foreign language
logical
is the phonological difference. Phonological difference. Okay. It leads to several problems of pronunciation. There is phonological difference. There are several problems of pronunciation. There are, in French, there are many words which are silent. So the pronunciation is very different. And that is one challenge. Second, vocabulary, grammar, sentence structure of the new language. In Punjabi, what is the syntax of the sentence? Subject, object, and then verb. For example, I'll speak in Punjabi and Hindi. It's the same. Rita chai banati hai. Rita subject, chai object, banati hai verb. Subject, object, verb. SOV. In English, it is Rita makes tea. SVO. So subject, then verb, then object. So this is the syntax difference, you can say. Okay. This is also a challenge. Phonological difference is also a challenge. And the third challenge one can face is to find a partner with whom to practice speaking that language. Okay. So you can choose, in this essay, basically they've asked one most difficult part when learning a foreign language. So in the introduction, I have said that no one point can be generalized as to which is the most difficult. Some people may find phonological difference to be a bigger challenge. Some people may find grammar and the vocabulary and the syntax a bigger challenge. So basically, you can write like this, then you can expand on more than one point. If it depends on how you write and what you write in the introduction. All right. So read out.
Learn a new language. One can join
Rika,
a language course if available in the one's residence
propinquity.
or join an online.
हाँ, propinquity means अपने घर के पास, in the vicinity. Propinquity. Okay. Next.
Practice is the key to success. Learning a new language is an ongoing process, and one should be willing to give it time every single day. Reading newspaper in that language would also be useful. Adding a few new words to one's vocabulary would help. One should listen to the native speakers as often as possible. This can be done by watching movies in that language.
Yes. So basically, these are the ways in which you can face the challenges that you face. You can overcome the challenges that you face while learning a new language. Okay. All right. Next essay.
Ma'am, is there a disturbance
Yes.
from my side?
Yes, there is some disturbance. Anybody else would like to read, or I'll go ahead and read?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Simar, go ahead.
The advantages brought by the spread of English as a global language will outweigh the disadvantages. To what extent do you agree or disagree with this view?
Yes. So basically, it says that if we make English the global language, it's one thing, we all think English is already a global language. No, it has not yet been declared the global language. If we declare it the global language, the statement says that if English becomes a global language, the advantages will be more than the disadvantages. Do you agree or disagree? Now, in such an essay, if you agree, you will say, what will you say? Yes, the advantages are more than the disadvantages, right? This is what you will be saying. So if you agree, even then you will write both advantages as well as disadvantages. If you disagree, even then you will write both advantages as well as disadvantages. But if you agree, you will make a bigger para or make two paras on the advantages and one on the disadvantages. If you disagree, you will make two paras on disadvantages and one on advantages. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Next.
Advantages of English as a global language. It would be accepted by so many people who already know this language. More non-native than natives already speak English, and thus it would be an easily accepted transition. English is easier to learn than any other language. Unlike other languages, for example, English has only 26 alphabets which are combined to make words and sentences. Its spread would bring about many economic benefits as it would lead to increased trade and commerce across the world. A major hindrance to the spreading of businesses and trade is the language barrier, and the universalizations of English would be a major impulse to the world economy. Its transition to a global language would also be the least expensive. For example, most websites are in English, and governments across the world would save huge amount needed to translate them. Even the automatic translators available online work best for English.
Okay, so basically these are the points. बेटे आपने वहां से थोड़ा गलत बोला है. Universalization of English means globalization of English. उसको universal बना दो, global बना दो. Impetus is something which boosts something, increases something. So if English is made the global language, then what would happen? Economy would be boosted. Okay. So what are the advantages? Dekho, advantages of making English, the global language. It is not just making one global language. आप कोई भी एक लैंग्वेज को उठा के ग्लोबल लैंग्वेज बना दो, उसका उसका मीनिंग डिफरेंट है। ये इंग्लिश पे ऐसे कि इंग्लिश को ग्लोबल लैंग्वेज बनाना जो उसके फायदे नुकसानों से ज्यादा है। ओके, so first point is already many people know this language. Already it is spoken in 84 countries. It is already the lingua franca. What do you understand by lingua franca? What do you understand by the term lingua franca?
Known language.
No, lingua franca is a language which has more non-native speakers than native speakers. More non-native than native speakers is a lingua franca. English, native speakers, you calculate the total population of America, UK and Australia, and non-native speakers, India, India को ही ले लो 150 crores, so India से ही हो जाएंगे. Okay, so it has more non-native speakers than native speakers. So it is a lingua franca. Similarly, French has more non-native speakers than native speakers. So these languages are lingua. This is one advantage of English. Second advantage is that it is easier. It has only 26 alphabet. And there are languages which have, do you know how many alphabet Mandarin or Chinese has? Pictorial alphabet on top of that. Do you know how many? I think 3,500. Okay. So this is easier to learn. Okay. And then economic benefits. And the fourth point अभी पढ़ना है ना? ये पढ़ लिया था?
पढ़ लिया था मैम.
पढ़ लिया. So it would be least expensive because already much of the work is done in English. Okay, so what are the disadvantages of making one language as a global language, especially English?
Disadvantages of English as a global language. Many people see the spread of English as nothing but the increasing dominations of the Western world. It could be a cost.
Okay, there is some disturbance behind you. Basically, what are the disadvantages? First disadvantage is that वो कहते हैं कि if English is spread as the global language, it will be the Western people who will be dominating the whole world because that is their native language. And then there would be other people who want their own language. There would be a conflict of interest. Okay. For example, Chinese people might say, make Chinese a global language. It has a lot of speakers already. And the next point is, if governments promote the use of English as a global language, it might speed up the death of many cultures because culture and language are interrelated. Okay, that is all right. Let us come to the next essay. What is the essay? Okay. Yes. Anybody would like to read it?
No.
Okay, Venkat, just give me 1 second. Okay. My Vittu is getting mad at something. Call him inside, please. He's getting mad. All right. So read it out, Venkat.
Some people think that we should invent a new language for international communication. Do the benefits of this outweigh the problems?
Okay, now let me explain the topic. This essay is on invention of a new language. Invention of a new language means no existing language will be made the international language. The international language would be an entirely new language which would be invented, okay, not related to any culture. So, so for example, have you heard the example? There is one language that is, already being promoted as an international language in many parts, although they are not being very successful. But they want to make this language universal because it is not based on any culture. It is not of any one place. It is an entirely invented language. The name is not coming to my mind. Does anybody know which language it is?
No.
Okay, I'll remember and I'll let you know. Speak out, Venkat.
Okay. No, a new language for international communication should not be invented because adopting a new language could lead to the loss of cultural diversity. Language and culture are interrelated, so using one international language could lead to the death of other languages and ultimately the end of culture.
Okay. So basically, um, a new common language could lead to the loss of cultural diversity because एक ही language हो जाएगी दुनिया भर में, एक ही जैसा culture हो जाएगा, diversity will come down. Okay. So, and there would be death of other languages. Next.
If one language is spoken in the whole world, it would be a dreary and dismal place to live in.
Dreary and dismal is a dull place. Okay. If only one language is spoken, then it would be very dull, dreary, dismal. Okay. Next.
The new language may be divided into dialects, so the whole purpose of having one language would be lost. So it would be unrealistic to expect one language without different dialects in the whole world.
Yes. All right. Next.
Many people might not accept a new language because it would be artificial and not based on any culture.
All right. So, are you understanding all the points?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Next point.
People would have to spend time learning the grammar and the words of the new language. Therefore, promoting a new language would be difficult and require a lot of time and effort.
Yes. Okay. Basically, they say that inventing, for example, you can see in one country, India, how many languages are there? Can you have a rough idea?
More than 32.
They say around 752 languages are spoken in English, including the tribal languages. Okay. Now, in a country like India, it has been very difficult to make all people speak one language. Hindi is there, but in many parts of India, people do not know Hindi, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
if a new language is invented, how can they expect that language to be spread in the whole world? It would take so much time and effort, right?
Yes.
So next.
Yes, a new language for international communication should be invented because trade and travel would be better because the language barrier would not be there. People would understand each other better and all the misunderstandings because of communication would go.
Yes. So I was just looking into that. I've always been teaching this new language, which is the invented new language. Esperanto, all right. That is Esperanto, Esperanto. That is a language which is, which has been invented and they want to spread it in the whole world. Okay. Auxiliary, this is a artificial language. Okay. 1887 में इसको invent किया गया था and more than 100 years now over and yet they have been unable to spread it. Okay. Esperanto is the name which was not coming to me. Okay. So basically, there are advantages and there are disadvantages of having international communication. One language as for international communication. So next point.
Yes, ma'am. Can I take the next one, ma'am?
Yes, yes.
This would also result in more peaceful and tolerant societies.
See, there are
there
3 points
would be
for what are the benefits if we invent. Trade and travel would be better. The societies would be more tolerant of each other because they would, everyone would have everything like that. Okay, next.
there would be no grudges in the minds of anyone, as it would be an artificial language and not related to any culture.
Yes. So basically, if English is made the global language, Chinese people may mind it and oppose it. But if an artificial language is there, nobody would have any grudge because that would not be related to any known language, right? So these are the
Yes,
points. Next, anybody else? Darshan, would you like to read? Gurvinder, Jinsi, Ravinder. All right.
Some people think
Yes, Jinsi, you can go ahead. Yes.
some people think governments should spend money on measures to save languages with few speakers from dying out completely. Others think this is a waste of financial resources. Discuss both views and give your opinion.
Okay. So basically, there are languages, um, you know, um, which have very few speakers left. And the essay is that essay is a discuss essay. Some people say that these languages, which have very few speakers left, they should be saved by efforts from the government, by funds from the government. Other people say there is no need. Okay, you have to discuss both views and then give your opinion. So why should the government spend
Yes,
money to save languages with few speakers? Right, read the points.
yes, governments should spend money to save languages with few speakers. Language is directly related to culture and traditions. If languages die, people's ability to understand the culture and traditions of the people that speak them also dies. Languages are an accumulation of knowledge. For example, with the death of a language, information about the medicinal value of plants and the habits of local animals becomes lost as well.
Yes.
Languages being shared with only a few other people is a sense of community and identity. If the
Next.
languages are preserved, there would be an option to revive them later if some group is interested.
Yes.
But if they are not preserved today, they would be gone forever.
All right. So you know these points. Okay. These are why money should be spent. These languages, all the points are almost same. Okay. Culture and tradition is also preserved. Then they are because anything may be recorded in any language. And if supposing some information about the herbs is recorded in one language and that language now nobody knows, then that information, that knowledge is also lost. Okay. And then there is a sense of identity in speaking that language, which is your own. And uh, then if these languages are preserved today, then there would be an option to revive them later if the need persists. Next points.
No, it should not be, because the link between culture and language is overstated. For example, being Punjabi does not mean speaking Punjabi. Certainly, a culture can prosper, that thrive without its language. There are many other important problems in the world, and the money spent on saving this will be better spent on addressing items like unemployment, poverty, and so on.
So,
In other words,
yes, yes.
in other words, the death of a language does not impact human lives in the same way as other issues.
Yes. So basically, the points against preserving these languages, first point is that the link between culture and language is overstated. They say that if a language dies, culture dies. But if a language is preserved, culture is not preserved. So basically, that link is overstated. Second point is that there are many other problems in the world and the government money is limited. So why to spend that money on languages when there are other important issues like poverty, unemployment, homelessness? Government should look into those matters first. Okay. Okay. Yes.
Some
Two essays.
languages,
Read.
okay. Some languages are increasingly spoken in different countries, while the usage of others is rapidly declining. Is this a positive or negative development?
Yes.
Some languages spoken by very few people are losing their importance and may become extinct completely. What are the reasons for this? Is it a positive or negative development?
So basically, this essay says that when some languages are increasingly spoken means most languages are dying out and some languages are being used more. A few languages are increasingly spoken, most languages are dying out. Is this a positive or negative development? And the other essay says that some languages which are spoken by very few people are becoming extinct, and they're asking the reasons and whether it is positive or negative. Okay, so let us do the points for these two essays. These are the last essays we are discussing today. Yes, go ahead.
Reasons for some languages being extinct.
Yes.
Speakers of a minority language may decide that it is better for their children's future to teach them a language
Yes.
that is tied to economic success.
Yes.
As a result, successive generations of speakers become bilingual and then begin to lose proficiency in their traditional languages.
Yes. So what
After
are the
my
reasons? Reasons are that we people want our children to speak English, right? We don't want them to be proficient in their language. Just give me 1 second. हाँ जी, next बोलो.
After migrating to English-speaking countries, speakers seek to learn English in order to gain social and economic advantages or to avoid discrimination. Some languages may die when small communities or speakers are wiped out by disasters or war.
So these are the reasons why languages are becoming extinct. Now you are going to do why this is positive and why this is negative. Okay, chalo.
Why is this positive? The increasing use of a few languages is easing communication among people. Because of this, people do not face difficulty when they travel from one country to the other. If they speak the same language, then they also find it easy to do business with each other. Job opportunities are also more. Many multinational companies have opened in different parts of the world. The rich nations who own these MNCs provide jobs to millions of people worldwide. Naturally, a person who knows their language is better placed in these companies.
Next.
Why is this negative? It is a well-known fact that language and culture are interrelated. If languages die out, then culture also dies out. We all enjoy life on this planet because of its diversity. If diversity decreases, then boredom sets in and Earth becomes a dull and boring place to live in.
So you know the points now, why the dying out of languages is possible and why it is negative. So these were all the language essays we've done today. What you can do is when you watch this video again, note down all the words you learned new and you can make a page on language essay vocabulary. And if you get any language essay, you can pick and choose the words to put in your essay. The vocabulary portion will be looked into. Thank you very much for being patient today. The class for me, it was a lengthy class. I never can teach such, such long, I've never taken such long classes earlier. So I hope you people and most of you were there sticking on with me. So I think you're keen on learning points for these ideas for essays. And we'll see you in the morning tomorrow. Okay, morning 6 a.m. for my class.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.